Hello and welcome everyone to CyVerse's fall webinars for 2024. I'm Tina Lee, CyVerse's User Engagement Officer. Today we're pleased to host our webinar on getting started with CyVerse with a focus on VICE and GoCommands. I messed up earlier by notifying people that it was about GoCommands, but it was advertised as VICE. So we're actually going to do both today, and it'll be presented by my colleague Michele Cosi. Before we begin, please open up your Zoom chat window so that you can type any questions for Michele there, and he'll address those after his presentation, which is about 30 minutes long today. As always, we do record these webinars, and I'll post the video on both our website as well as our YouTube channel. So now I'm pleased to introduce my colleague, Michele Cosi. Michele is a plant scientist by training and a research data scientist by trade. He is a strong evangelist for open science, educating researchers in data science best practices, fair and care data principles, containerization, cloud native technologies, and the principles of open science. He teaches CyVerse's workshops on foundational open science skills, otherwise known as FOSS, as well as containers and cloud native resources, and is a key member of the Data Science Institute's educational instructors. Hello, Michele.
Hi, Tina. Always thank you for your candid introductions. As Tina did mention, today we're going to cover a couple of topics regarding to CyVerse, and these are one, the VICE applications, or how to get to the VICE applications, and what VICE stands for, and GoCommands. Today we're also joined by the creator of GoCommands himself, Il-Yang Choi, which will be able to answer any pressing questions, if there are any. Without further ado, I am going to be starting with CyVerse, and if you are new to CyVerse, please do sign up at user.cyverse.org. Since this is a running series, we have already covered the basics of getting started with CyVerse in one of our previous webinars. If Tina, you're able to, you can paste the URL into the chat to our beginning getting started with CyVerse, which will cover what CyVerse is, when it started, and what you can do with it in order to augment your research. So to start, I wanted to show you what CyVerse looked like before today. And we did give it a fresh coat of paint down back in 2019, or I believe it was 2020. Tell me, Tina, if I'm wrong, but CyVerse used to look a little bit more, let's say, traditional. And these are taken from a couple of our workshop series back in the day. And as you can see, it was a lot more clicky, and it will show you specific folders, and you will have to click on apps which will present themselves in cards, essentially. All of these apps would mostly be executive, non-interactive, as in if you are running in this specific case alignments. If you were running an alignment, this will go directly to our cloud computing platform or to the HPC. People would have to click here and there to upload things, and honestly, it did feel slightly more traditional in a sense. We have moved on from there, and we have now integrated VICE into what you may be, what's the right word for it? Used to the CyVerse of today. And we're going to show you how you can get to CyVerse from the user portal as well as using VICE. But what does VICE stand for? VICE is our visual interactive computing environment. And as I just mentioned, it's truly integrated with what CyVerse is today. What are you looking at currently? You're looking at user.cyverse.org. This is what the screen post signing on or logging on into your user.cyverse website looks like. As you can see over here, you have services, requests, and workshops, but we're not going to be going down what is on the left-hand side here today, as that has been already covered in the Getting Started. We're going to look at My Services. We can see here that we can launch the Discovery environment, and we can also launch the Discovery environment Visual Interactive Computing environment. Thing is, if you launch one or the other, you are going to get to the same point. But because of intents and purposes of today, I'm just going to click on DE Vice right here. Before I continue, I do want to say that if you are signing up to CyVerse using a .com account, we will be reaching out to you asking whether you can use your .edu account. And if you are outside of the University of Arizona, you will have to purchase a subscription in order to use Vice apps, or reach to us directly where we can allow you to launch Vice applications. So without further ado, I'm going to click on this card right here, which will launch the Discovery environment. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for people to see. All righty. This is the Discovery environment, and if you do already have an account, you can access this through de.cyvers.org. And by what we call Vice applications, essentially, you can access through just the Apps tab. The Apps tab will show you what applications are featured. And here are, for example, a Cloud Shell, which is a great application that you can use to quickly navigate through CyVerse, move your data around, do some light editing, such as AWK, SED, or move, change directories. By move, I meant rename files or move files around. Files that are a little bit lighter. For heavier lifts, we're going to be covering GoCommands later today. We have a number of Jupyter Labs here that you can use, and Jupyter Labs come in different flavors. We have a Jupyter Lab that is concentrated on navigating data science, and we have another Jupyter Lab that is concentrated on doing geospatial data extrapolation. We also have one that has PyTorch CPU. I should probably not say this, but we also do have GPUs available. We only make those available if you are able to explain to us what your research is around and what you're going to be using our resources for. GPUs are becoming more and more required in this day and age of research, and therefore we are making them available to the public. However, we do want to make sure that you are not mining Bitcoins, for example. We also have a number of R studios, same story with the Jupyter Labs. We have a Geospatial R studio, a Verse R studio, a Stan R studio, and this is a little bit of jargon, but if you want to use the Rockerverse, for example, please do launch the Verse R studio, or if you want to do some statistical analysis, launch some Stan R studio. We have a couple of Ubuntu desktops that you can use, and VS Code. These are the featured apps. These are the featured apps that we show to everybody. And this is not the end of all the apps that we have. In fact, if you go over here, there is a little drop-down menu where it shows you all of the apps that we launch. Mind you, we have a set of high-performance computing apps, and these are not Vice apps themselves. If we want to see my public apps, browse all apps, there we go. This is going to show you apps that have been created by other people using CyVerse, and not all of these are, for example, VICE apps. A lot of these are executables. And how do you know? Well, it says right here. This is a VICE type app, meaning that it is interactive. You can use your mouse to navigate around the app, which differentiates itself from the HPC apps or other applications that we host here on CyVerse. I'm going to throw a little bit of jargon in here, and we do call these apps. So I'm going to go back to the featured apps themselves. We do call these apps, but these apps are essentially container images which we have built or other people have built and are able to be uploaded on CyVerse. If there is high requests, I can cover how to create your own VICE applications or create your own containers, perhaps in a later getting started, where you perhaps bring your own application and we can walk through the integration itself. We can talk more about this, Tina, at a later time. One of the apps that I have developed but is not featured, and I'm going to go to my public apps, is the Jupyter Lab Bioscience. And I'm going to show you now how to launch one or launch a VICE application. I'm going to be launching the Jupyter Lab Bioscience. When interacting and when you're ready to launch an application, you're going to be clicking on it and you're going to be presented with very little description up here at the top and a couple of lines essentially. And this is a specific application which contains very popular tool for bioscience. This ranges from BLAST, FastQC, MultiQC, STAR. You can read all about these aligners and data extrapolation for example, transcriptomic analysis. In this page, you can look over here where you can change the name for your analysis. I'm going to call this Jupyter Lab Bioscience Analysis, and I'm going to give it today's state. And I like to start from the end. So 24, 09, and 20. I'm going to give it a comment so that I can remember what this is for. CyVerse getting started demo. And output folder right now, you don't need to change it because this is an interactive app and you can navigate a specific output folder from within the app itself. This is something that is remnant from before our VICE days, and we still give the ability to people to choose what folder they want to output their analysis in, although not required for VICE apps. Once I am set with my launch, I'm going to click Next and select the resource requirements. This is something that is similar to also the non-VICE apps, where we ask people to choose how many resources you want for your specific research. For example, if you are running a memory-intensive application, you want to select high memory. But if you know that you're just doing, for example, data visualization, you might not require as much memory, but you may require more cores. So for this specific case, I'm going to select a minimum memory of 4 GB and 4 CPU cores. I'm also going to select a maximum CPU cores, and this is a bit of a trick of the trade. You want the minimum and the maximum CPU cores to be the same. This will select exactly the resources that you require instead of having a potential variety. You can also select minimum disk space, but because this being VICE, the disk space can vary automatically, excuse me. Once I am done over here with resource requirements, I'm going to click Next and click Launch Analysis. This takes me to the analysis summary, and I can, for example, do a number of things here. I can look at more actions, such as go to analysis. This is going to open the Jupyter Lab in a new page. I can share this with my collaborators. I can go to the output folder that I selected earlier, relaunch this specific analysis, and what relaunch does, sadly, it does not relaunch the same environment that you may have created from within the app. It does not launch with the same data that you have uploaded within the app, but it relaunches with the same requirements that you have selected, such as how much CPU, how much RAM that you have. You can rename it. And you can also extend time limit, because Vice apps do have a time limit of roughly 24 to 48 hours. If you know that you're aligning something and this alignment is going to go for longer, for example, than 24 hours, you want to check in daily to extend that time limit. You also want to terminate it once it is once your analysis is finished. And therefore, you can do a number of things here that will help you understanding how long has it been running for, or if you want to relaunch it. And I can see now that my analysis is running from the extra tab that has been opened over here. I'm going to click Go to Analysis, which will send me to the Jupyter Lab. Okay, I'm going to make this slightly bigger. And this is a Vice app, everybody. This might not feel like this is anything different, because Vice has been running for the past 4 years. It's so integrated with CyVerse right now that might not feel like it's something new. But essentially what we're giving you is a very small, let's call it a virtual machine running a Docker container. And you can treat this like your small little laptop, but with a lot more RAM. In this specific case, it doesn't have too much more RAM. What's good about Vice applications? Well, I did mention a second ago that you can deposit files directly to your folder, your data store folder, without having to designate an output folder. And you can do so in a Jupyter Lab from the left-hand side pane over here, where I can navigate to Home, My Own Folder, and view all of the files that I have uploaded. I can then open any of these files themselves, and I can launch these applications from within the app itself. I do not need to send it to Colab. I do not need to wait for the execution to be run. One of the things that I like about Vice, and for this specific example, I'm going to click on, I'm gonna leave it here. Actually, I'm gonna go back to the to the discovery environment, excuse me. And I'm going to launch a second application. In this specific case, I'm going to launch an RStudio verse, where I am going to name it 240920 CyVerse Getting Started Demo. I'm going to click Next. I'm not going to be using 128 CPU cores. I'm just going to run it with 4, and a minimum memory of 4. I'm going to click Next over here and launch my analysis. And what I want to show you is that if I have 2 apps running, I can move these files from one to the other quite seamlessly. For this specific exercise, I am going to go ahead and create one of these files, and I can do so, let's say, I'm going to do so over here. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it CyVerse Demo. I'm going to keep it as a TXT. Hi, this is Michele, and I want to show you, maybe make I hope that you can see this. And I want to show you transferring files between Vice, running Vice apps. And this is not necessarily transferring files because the files already exist in the same location. I'm going to save this, and I'm gonna go to my running RStudio. I'm gonna go to my analysis. And if you are familiar with RStudio, making this a little bit bigger, this is your RStudio IDE where you can launch and use R scripts. I'm going to click on Data Store here in this panel. I'm going to click on Home, Cosi Michele, and once again, it is going to show me all of my files. I know that I'm looking for CyVerse demo, so I'm just going to scroll the way down, and I can see that CyVerse demo is already here. I'm going to open the file, and this is exactly what I typed in the other application. What I want to show you is that this is almost live. This is literally like opening two apps on your computer, and because there's a single data store, these files are available in both sides. I'm going to add an extra line here. I am writing this from RStudio. I'm going to save it. If I go back to CyVerse, to the Jupyter Lab, I may need to close this and open it again, waiting for that line to show up. This has to work. Let me see if I did save it.
Yeah, I want to mention this. There is a cache. So if two apps are assigned to different cluster nodes, in such a case, each node will have their own cache, and cache synchronization will happen every 10 minutes.
Every 10 minutes.
Yes.
Everybody, this is Il-Yang, our expert on data store, and thank you, Il-Yang, for being here. I do want to mention that this has worked for every other demo that I have made. So perhaps interoperability is not strict live, but it does happen every 10 minutes.
Yeah, but we plan to have a giant big cache, just a single big cache, so that we can, seamlessly share the content in the future. That's in the plan.
Thank you very much, Il-Yang. That is very good insight. But I wanted to show you that this is how you operate Vice applications. You can access these Vice applications through the apps folder, through the apps tab, and you can see your analysis running through the analysis tab. Before I wanted to switch gears now, and I'm going to turn off the Rocker RStudio application by clicking on my terminate button. And always terminate is important because it allows you to save some compute time. And I'm going to go to my Jupyter Lab, where through the command line, I'm going to show you a little bit of GoCommands.
Michele, may I interrupt real quick? I answer these questions a lot in support, but people often think that if they log out of CyVerse before they terminate an analysis, that just logging off will terminate it, and that's not true, correct?
That is correct. What is that correct, Tina?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right.
So I just want to make sure that people understand that, because sometimes people will burn through their CPU hours and wonder why. But I logged out, but logging out does not terminate an analysis necessarily. So please manage.
Absolutely correct. You can have, for example, a larger analysis running, and this specific analysis can run for, let's say, days. And this does not mean that you have to be connected and logged into CyVerse the entire time. You can literally leave and do other things, other research, clean the dishes, or clean the dishes, and you can come back at a later time. I use this analogy a lot, which is, imagine you start a car. So by starting a car, it's like starting your CyVerse application, and you decide to leave your car, but you do not turn off your car. In this specific case, it is still going to be, the car is not going to be turned off. The car is still going to be running, and therefore burning your CPU hours. So thank you, Tina, for the insight. In the last few minutes, I want to show you GoCommands. And what is GoCommands? Very briefly, GoCommands is our in-house data transfer tool, and it is suddenly available on the command line. It doesn't matter whether you're using Windows, a Mac computer, a Linux machine, GoCommands come in all flavors. It is, however, as I just mentioned, strictly a command line tool. In order for you to launch GoCommand, you will need access to a terminal, and this is what I have in front of me. GoCommands, the GoCommand syntax always starts with GoCMD, where I can then press enter, and this is going to show me all available GoCommands commands, essentially. What GoCommands looks like is similar to SFTP, where you can put files in, get files out. You can also list specific files in a folder, or do a lot of other things, such as moving files directly from GoCommands or removing files from GoCommands. And the first thing that you always want to do when doing GoCommands is GoCommands init. GoCommands will not work without init, and it will always ask for your password and credentials. When doing GoCommand init, I'm going to press enter here, and as you can see, it is going to prompt me into, hey, where do you want to connect? In this specific case, I want to connect to data.cyvers.org, and it is already highlighted within the square brackets here, so I can just press enter. What port do you want to use? 1247. What zone do you want to be in? iPlant. And who are you? In this specific case, GoCommands knows already who I am, and I don't need to type it up again. But one thing that you always need to do is to put in your password, and that's what I am doing right now. We're going to press enter, and if you do not see, for example, failed, GoCommand is ready to be used. Now, before I get too ahead of myself, you can learn all of this through our learning.cyvers.org website, where you can learn not only how to move data, but also how to create apps, how to request the CyVerse resources for a class, and a lot of other CyVerse-centric instructions. So now that I have initiated your commands, I can go ahead and, for example, list what I have in my own personal folder. GoCMD ls. Now, as you can notice, I am not giving GoCommands the entire path to my folder, because it already knows who I am, and therefore it will directly point to my own personal folder on CyVerse. GoCommands ls does print all of my files on CyVerse. And I can see, for example, that there is folders as well, highlighted with the C dash and then the entire folder path. And what if I want to get to this specific folder? I can do GoCMD, and very similar to command line, I can do CD daily weather construction dash underscore R. I can do GoCMD ls. And here I can see that I am now in my, it is showing the files within this specific folder itself. Now, when I don't know what other things I can do with GoCommands, I can always do GoCommand -- help, and it will show me once again all of the commands that I can do. Let's say that I want to get some data from my own folder. I know that I have 3 files. So as I mentioned earlier, I can transfer these files very similar to SFTP using put or get. So if I do GoCMD get, and I'm not going to be typing all of this, I'm just going to highlight it, copy it, and paste it. It will get this specific file. But I also want to show me progress. And in order to do so, I can do -- progress, adding the -- progress flag. And when I press enter, it will transfer, showing me how much is being transferred, how fast the data transfer is happening. And therefore, I do ls, and therefore I can see that, well, GoCommands worked as I expected, as the file is here or ready. I can also put back this specific file, but I do not want, but let's just assume that this file already exists, and it does. So GoCMD put, and then I'm going to paste this specific name and press enter. It will detect that this file already exists, and therefore this is just a check. Is this something that you want to do? Do you want to overwrite this file? In this specific case, I do not want to overwrite this file, so I'm just going to press N. I can create a specific directory in this file by doing GoCommand make dir, exactly how you will do it on the command line. CyVerse demo. If I press enter and do GoCMD ls, it will show me that now I have a CyVerse demo folder within the folder that we find ourselves in. So I can do GoCommand put the name of the file that I want, and I wanted to put it into CyVerse demo. I also want you to show progress. I'm going to press enter. And as you can see, this time around, it did not complain regarding, hey, are you sure you want to be putting this file inside this folder? It already exists. This is, and I'm already putting this, and I am putting this file into the CyVerse demo folder, and therefore it's not complaining. But I just want to show you how with GoCommand, you can essentially move files in and out from your local storage or from CyVerse itself, using the command line very similarly to SFTP itself. There is a lot more that we're going to be covering with GoCommands and data management, but if you want to be using GoCommands right now, I do suggest that you go to learning.cyverse.org, and that is learning.cyverse.org, where you can find all informations regarding managing your data, running analysis, cloud services, and what you can use CyVerse for your classroom. For GoCommands applications themselves, go to manage your data, moving data, scroll down apart. If you go through all of the other methods to move data, here at the bottom, there is through the GoCommands and command line section, which will show you how you can get GoCommands for your computer, and a list of scroll all the way down. and a list of subcommands, see what they can do, and see what you require to run for your own intents and purposes. Well, with that said, we are hitting the 30-minute mark, and I would like to stop sharing and open this to the floor if there is anything that you may want to ask regarding VICE or GoCommands. Il-Yang, Tina, and I are here to answer your questions. But otherwise, I would like to thank you for your attention today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michele. I don't see any typed questions in the chat. And so feel free to unmute yourself if you do have a question. We've got, like Michele says, Il-Yang is here today to answer any specifics on GoCommands. And Michele, of course, can answer all questions on VICE. So if there's no questions, thank you all for attending. And please join us next week where CyVerse's Edwin Skidmore will be showing us how to connect your Google Colab to CyVerse's cloud native platform, Cacao. So please do join us, same time, same channel, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Michele. Thanks, Il-Yang.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.